So after watching the cringe fest that was E3, instead of making a video mocking it like I did last year, I decided a better use of my time was to play over 100 indie games. Yes. Thanks to the Steam Next Fest, I played a lot of games. Simulators, platformers, first-person shooters, sports games, whatever the heck this is. And while I liked way more indie games than I thought I would, I wanted to talk about 15 of these games. So without anything else, let's get right into it. The Ballad of Bonky is a wonky experience. The first thing that pops up is its distinct style with an entertaining claymation molded cast and a wacky plot to boot. Bonky is a game that will make you genuinely laugh. The story holds on to this dramatization of game events only to be used as a joke. Also, look at these facial animations. I love these. It's not the most complicated action game I played, but the idea that you have to pinball enemies in order to get any knockouts is really fun. The soundtrack, the story, the visuals are all super weird, but I love weird. While not being nearly as appealing as this year's Sifu mechanically or visually, Midnight Fight Express just lets you go sicko mode on these guys. This game reminds me a lot of 2019's My Friend Pedro, where you don't have a ton of thinking and you can take any approach you want, but where those two games differ is how much attention forces you to pay to your environment. You go from fighting on top of a train, weapons are able to slip off the edges, which can distract you from enemy fists. Then a helicopter with a sniper begins shooting you, so you descend into the car. Now you have to make sure you're not in view of the windows for fear of a sniper bullet. Then the game finishes beautifully as the helicopter gets run over by a train. The game will be releasing around the tail end of summer on August 23rd. Ghost Song was the only Metroidvania I liked, and at the very least, tried something different. There was Moonscars, which was showcased at E3, but that's just another boring 2D Dark Souls clone. Ghost Song is a slow, atmospheric shooter. You can die pretty easily if you're careless, but the game designed itself around your slow movement. As you stroll along the dank map, the game will reveal some beautiful visuals, and then that music kicks in, and feel the world of the game wrap you around its soothing tendrils. I'm still not 100% sold on it, especially since we know Silksong will be releasing within the next 12 months. I think the game will definitely get a solid cult following when it releases this year.
Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Signalis was the only spoopy game I liked. I'm not super into horror, especially indie horror, but Signalis might just convert me. The demo it had was short, but its jigsaw item puzzle-like structure converted me to digging the chilling, low-tech sci-fi vibe. The pixel art was solid, the combat is better than most horror games, and the cliffhanger at the end has me hooked. This will probably be my spooky game when it releases on October 27th.
It's time to kick gum and chew ass.
Cultic is an action horror FPS likening itself to those older mid-90s FPS games like Duke Nukem. We've got quite a few of these games now over the past few years, but I'm just digging the vibe from this game. The precise shooting, the sprawling levels, the weapons, the late game horror gut punch that let me crush some diamonds with my colon. It's everything you want with a first-person shooter. The pistol just lets you blow some heads away, shooting dynamite as a trap for encroaching enemies, and the shotgun is meaty and devastating for anyone who gets too close. I was really surprised how much of a complete package this game was compared to most of the FPS I played.
Run! She's a ghost and a bitch!
The Outbound Ghost is a Paper Mario clone, the good ones. After Bug Fables released a few years ago, the people have spoken that they want more games like this, and after the sleep-inducing bore fest that was the Origami King, the Outbound Ghost is coming in saying, "Nuh-uh, go away, nobody wants you." While the story of this game wasn't striking or funny, I hope this was just the demo showcasing the gameplay, and that is very good. Also, this guy's a character. Yes, please. Lost Idolins took me by surprise. There were quite a few real-looking games, but most of them were completely unoptimized, but Lost Idolins ran very smoothly. The quality of the product as a whole threw me off. The voice acting was really convincing, the animations looked solid, the characters and story made me interested in what this game had up its sleeve. While this may have the bones of a Fire Emblem game, the visuals and overall vibe remind me of a mid-2000s Final Fantasy game. There aren't a ton of good story-centric tactics games, and I'm all for this when it releases in Q3 2022. Now. Let me ask you a serious question. Do you want to play a 3D platformer where you play as a toy car? Bam! Pocket Wheels was so much fun. I wanted to play more 3D platformers. All you do is drive and fly around in a bedroom, but it's a calming and entertaining way of reopening your imagination and reminding you that only in a video game can you play as a flying toy unicorn on a skateboard and say, yes, this is a good way to spend my time. Sakura is a game I fear most people are going to shrug off when it releases because of these retro Game Boy visuals, but seriously, this puzzle game is legit. All you do is push blocks around, but as you keep playing, the puzzles get more and more complex, and then you learn you can't even solve most of these puzzles without awakening this stone god. But after doing so, rocks turn into these rolling golems. As you keep playing, the game continues evolving itself, forcing you to backtrack and rethink new ways to solve puzzles that seemed impossible, because they were. The atmosphere is legit as you explore this dreamy island, uncovering its secrets. You feel the game begin to immerse you as the tribal music kicks in, and the next thing you know, an hour has flown by. I love it when a game can ease itself between addicting but fun. Please don't sleep on Sakura when it releases in December.
For days, I have crept through shadows like a rat.
Now, if Cultic was meant to remind you of those mid-90s shooters, then Trepang 2 is meant to remind you of those mid to late 2000s games like Fear and Half-Life 2. Trepang begins with these heart-pounding stealth sequences, but then it gives you a gun. Now you're utilizing the shadows beautifully, mixing the two as a way to sucker punch the enemies as your heavy-hitting weapons turns everyone into mincemeat. You also utilize a slow-mo and camouflage ability as ways to try to push you away from enemies or come in for the finishing kill. While the story leaves much to be desired, the gameplay and impact of every shot more than makes up for it. I hope you'll be ready for this roller coaster of a game when it releases sometime this year.
I don't want your damn lemons! What am I supposed to do with these? Do you know who I am? I'm the man who's gonna burn your house down with the lemons!
The Last Worker is a Portal clone that understands what made Portal good. I see so many of these FPS puzzle games shoehorn in a gimmicky puzzle feature, build a whole game around it, and then bring in some boring random side piece character to remove all of the quiet bits. But Portal wouldn't be nearly as iconic without its fantastic writing. Every time a character talked in that game, every bit of dialogue was intentional and impactful. I get that same exact vibe with The Last Worker. You are alone in an Amazon warehouse after all the workers got run over by those packing machines, but you are trapped and have one of the deepest and smoothest voices in gaming.
Yeah, we've established that.
Your job is to pick and drop off packages until a hummingbird tells you you have to overthrow the shadow government. Now the game transforms into an interactive stealth section. This writing and gameplay combo is what makes The Last Worker such an interesting game to play. Don't be surprised if this ends up in my top 5 when it releases in 2022.
I'm a pickle! I'm Pickle Rick!
Moon of Darsalon makes me nostalgic for a game I've never played. The blend of 2D and 3D and the funny jokes, the way you jump and move, the game oozes a distinct identity that nearly all indie platformers would kill to have. Or not, since they're just copying the same 5 games, but it doesn't end there. The main gameplay loop is being aware of your surroundings, lighting up dark paths for your friends to find their way, timing their jumps to make it safely across a platform, and unit efficiency to even finish a level. Then we got jetpacks, aliens, laser guns. Moon of Darsalon doesn't want you to get comfortable doing one thing, and that variety is why you should play it.
Unfortunately for you, however, you are maidenless.
Gloomwood is made by the guys who made Dusk, and instead of making a successor to Quake, they instead pivot to making a successor to Thief. And while I haven't played Thief, Gloomwood hits you with this gothic horror dystopia. You have to crawl along the shadows, stabbing people in the back as you ascertain what's going wrong with this world. And the deeper you delve, the darker and more Lovecraftian it gets, and... This sounds a lot like Bloodborne.
Yeah, but it isn't.
Oh. Cool.
So long, Bowser!
I had to force myself to stop playing Tinykin. It drops you off in one small level and then one giant 3D level, and I was enjoying myself so much I went past the required amount of items to collect. It's just a fun game to explore, but it's the little touches I love. The music is easily my favorite part about this game. You got these little Pikmin goblins hoisting everyday items around, humming in tune with the music. You go into a guitar restaurant and the main theme transitions to an acoustic guitar, and then you enter a church and it turns into a choir of bugs singing a song of worship. It's a fun, addicting 3D collectathon that releases on August 30th. Lorne's Lure was a game that was made specifically for me. A fast and frenetic speedrunning first-person parkour bonanza, but as you delve deeper into its mystifying depths, you unravel a world that is incomprehensibly deep and labyrinthian. The mood can shift ever so suddenly as you allow yourself to shut out the timer counting your progress and allow the world to draw you in and leave you in a realm of existential, isolating dread. The game allows you this aspect of exploration and wants you to lose yourself in this world, feeling the same lost feeling of hopelessness as the main character. This game clearly knows itself as it airs a sense of confidence in its story without having long, drawn-out cutscenes. It's games like Lorne's Lure that allowed me to appreciate video games and know that games are continuing to evolve themselves. Sure, when a great AAA game comes out, it offers an amazing experience, but this exploration into the minds of hundreds of individuals really got me to appreciate the good and bad things about games. And without something like the Steam Next Fest, I never could have found a game like Lorne's Lure. And I'm glad I did.